Welcome back to the Moving Offline podcast. Today I have a post where I like to talk about enough and what is actually enough for you. See, social media often makes us feel like we never have enough. I recently watched a video where someone claimed if you don't have a Lamborghini in your 20s, you should have a serious talk with yourself. I don't have a Lamborghini in my 20s, and it's very unsettling to hear someone suggest that owning a luxury car should be everyone's goal. For some, that might be their dream. To have enough wealth, buy whatever they want, use it as a status symbol of sorts, or just enjoy it. For others, it's completely unnecessary. Just an expensive car that serves the same purpose as any Toyota Camry, getting you from point A to point B. Yet this video raises a very important question. What is enough? Our culture constantly pushes us to want more, faster, stronger, smarter. We're taught that more is always better, and that simplifying or downsizing means failure for some reason. I experienced this when I moved to Denver and chose to live in a condo instead of a house. Many people, including my parents, were a little bit disappointed that I was, quote-unquote, downgrading. They saw my move from a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo as a step backward. But for me, it was an opportunity to simplify. Fewer things to worry about, no yard to maintain, no roof to replace, and definitely a smaller payment than a house over time. I was looking for my priorities, not theirs. But that's my version of enough. Your version may be different, and it's actually important for everyone to define what enough means for themselves. In a world where our digital and financial lives heavily influence our choices, it's crucial to set boundaries that guide how we live. Today we're going to explore what enough means in both the digital and financial parts of life, because to create a balanced, fulfilling life, a life that is moved offline, it's important to start by understanding what enough truly means to you. So the first step in this journey is to figure out what's enough. I call this the gut check moment. Enough is highly dependent on context, but it's also about how you feel. Growing up in Nicaragua, my idea of enough developed really early, shaped by life in a developing country. In a place where blackouts and water outages were common, enough meant having stability and holding on to what little you had. For many people in my country, enough meant having a home with a sink, roof, walls made of sticks, and food on the table every single night. My family was considered upper middle class because we had a concrete home and 2 parents with full-time jobs. We had enough to buy toys and other small luxuries for my brother and me. In the context of Nicaragua, we had more than enough. In the United States, however, the house I grew up in would be considered working class, possibly even in need of assistance programs. A developed country like the US has an entirely different version of enough, but the word itself doesn't change. So understanding the context in which you define enough is crucial to knowing what it means for you. Although enough may change depending on the context, the feeling inside of you is universal. It's like when you've eaten your favorite meal and feel satisfied. Not too much, not too little, just right. Like the camote asado from Alma Fonda Fina, a restaurant in Denver that I love. It's the feeling that comes when you hear phrases like 9-bedroom, 5-bathroom home, or iPhone 16 Pro Max. Maybe you feel desire. Maybe you feel aversion. But your gut is not lying. It speaks to what your heart truly wants. The first step to defining enough is to listen to your reaction. Whatever comes your way, if the feeling is warm, pursue it. If it feels cold or off-putting, move away from that. Make a list of what enough looks like for you and use it to create a plan. Here are some questions to help you determine maybe what's enough in your life. What areas of your life do you want to prioritize the most? And how can you allocate your resources to support them? Which possessions or experiences bring you the greatest joy and add true value to your everyday life? How can you design a balanced week that focuses on stability instead of hecticness? What goals align with your ideal life, and how can you create a plan to achieve them while staying fulfilled? When I did this exercise of defining enough, I was surprised by what made it to my list. My version of an enough life includes pretty much simplicity to me. A home for my family, no larger than 2,000 square feet, no smaller than 1,000. A place with walking or biking distance to most amenities like the supermarket, entertainment, and maybe a few restaurants. One car and 2 bikes for getting around without needing frequent upgrades. 4 days of meaningful work with 3 days to decompress. A job that allows me to disconnect, and a lifestyle that is sustainable on a single household income. It may sound like a dream, but that's my version of enough. Now, these parameters don't mean that my idea of enough won't change. It doesn't mean that I can make more money or even cut my spending or want a nicer house. It simply means I have defined what enough looks like for me right now. Breaking free from societal pressures requires assessing what genuinely matters to you, not what others think you should have, what you want to have. Defining your own version of success and contentment is key to finding enough. It means being able to envision your future and feel at peace with it. Once you define enough, you can simplify the financial and digital aspects that make that life difficult to achieve. And with a clearer sense of what enough means and a willingness to reject societal pressures, the next step is to look at your finances. Financial simplicity, or just even organization, can significantly reduce stress and help you focus on the aspects of life that actually bring you joy. Having a definition of enough makes it easier to see where you have excess in your life, or maybe where you need to put in more effort. If you want a bigger home, or a nicer car, or whatever it is, but you're struggling to save for it, maybe that's a signal that you'll need to make a few more sacrifices to achieve that goal. If something is truly important to you, you need to focus on it, rather than just letting life happen and hoping that one day that becomes an actual reality. On the other hand, if you realize that you have too much and you're not actually satisfied with that, then you need to make plans to downsize. That's what I realized a few years ago when I switched to the iPhone 2, my version of enough for a phone. I realized I didn't need an unlimited data plan. It felt excessive to pay for all that data when the phone only did basic tasks and didn't need constant internet access. My plan with Verizon at the time was more than enough, so I started looking for alternatives. That's when I learned about MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators. These are companies that provide the same service as the big carriers, but at a lower cost and with less features. I switched to US Mobile, which gave me unlimited talk and text and 1 gig of data for $6 per month. I identified the excess in my life, $50 to Verizon, and adjusted my expenses to align with my vision of enough. Not only did it save me money, but I also started living more in line with my values. Conversely, I decided to increase my spending on cafes and restaurants. I realized I was missing out on simple joys like a latte or dessert because I was too focused on saving money. I was more interested in the number in my bank account than the experiences in my life account. That's just not how I want to live. So I came to understand that I can save for emergencies and plan for the future without having to sacrifice my present happiness. Instead of only prioritizing my future self, I also needed to consider what enough looks like in my daily life and make room for that satisfaction now. Here are a few questions to help you in your definition of enough for your financial life. What are the top 3 expenses that make you happiest, and how can you spend more on them? Which expenses could you eliminate without feeling a significant loss of happiness? Are you automatically saving enough for your future goals, like retirement or a big purchase? And how can you optimize your spending to align with the life you want now and the life you want in the future? After simplifying your finances and educating yourself on resources about the good life, I have some books in the actual written version in the description below, it's time to consider your digital life. Just as with finances, setting boundaries and defining enough in the digital realm can free you from your unnecessary distractions and help you live more intentionally. I know it's no surprise to you, but we're currently facing a crisis of digital access. Cars, homes, work, and even parks now have more screens and online interactions than real humans actually interacting with each other. Defining enough in our digital realm is more crucial than ever. Some people are switching to simpler phones. Others are seeking more offline community experiences. Living offline also means defining what enough looks like for you in your digital life. Start by questioning what you truly need from your digital tools. Do you need to be constantly connected to social media? Or can you cut back? Do you need all those apps on your phone? Or can you uninstall the ones that don't add anything or actually are detrimental to your well-being? Is being connected to your inbox all the time truly making you a better employee? Or are you just filling time because you struggle to find actual meaning in your profession? A key part of this process is setting boundaries between offline and online. You might decide that enough means spending only an hour a day on social media, or not using your phone during meals or family time. That's good. It's your definition. Committing to digital detox days or weekends without your phone can also make a big difference, but you need to decide what's best for you. Over the past month, I've experimented with an alternative approach. 1 week off from the internet, followed by 1 week on the internet. During my offline weeks, I found I could create better recipes, think more deeply, read books that I was actually genuinely interested in. Life has slowed down, and I've enjoyed it a lot. But I've also made the most out of my online interactions when I'm on my week on. Knowing that I wouldn't have access the following week made me prioritize my digital time with meaningful activities instead of wasting it on TikTok videos or whatever it is that people are watching nowadays. I've felt less distracted and realized how much my life improved by alternating 1 week online and 1 week offline. But your definition of enough needs to be yours. What is enough in the digital realm? 1 hour a day, 3 hours, maybe it's 10. Probably that one is not true, but it just depends on what you want in your life and whether you want to live through the screen or you actually want to experience it with your own eyes. Here are some questions to help you determine what's enough in your digital life. Which digital tools make the biggest positive impact on your life? And how can you use them more intentionally? How can you limit social media to a level that keeps you connected without overwhelming you? Which notifications can you turn off to reduce distractions and increase focus? And finally, what boundaries can you set for your digital use to prioritize real life experience and relationships? Living with enough means making conscious decisions that align with what truly brings value to your life. It means defining success and contentment for yourself rather than letting societal pressures dictate your choices. By simplifying your financial habits, setting clear boundaries in your digital life, and being intentional with your resources, your time, you can create a life that feels rich and fulfilling without excess. Start small, whether it's canceling unnecessary subscriptions, reducing digital distractions, or spending more time that genuinely makes you happy. Remember, finding balance is a journey, and what feels like enough today may change in the future. The key is to stay mindful and continually reassess what enough means to you. I do this exercise once a quarter, so I can assess how my goals and my life needs to go in order to make the most out of what I have. Take charge of your life by focusing on what matters most and letting go of what doesn't. By doing so, you'll create space for joy, peace, and purpose in this increasingly connected world. I hope this podcast was helpful to you and that maybe you learned something new. And if you think this can be helpful for somebody else, make sure to share the link or the podcast with a friend or family member. Thank you for listening. And until next time, make sure to live your best life offline.